welcome to another edition of the Make More Marbles podcast, and welcome back to Masterminds for Entrepreneurs. Welcome, everybody. If you're on the live, hashtag live. If you're on the replay, hashtag replay. Let me know where you're coming from out there. And again, we are doing a series of incredible content about masterminds because we're gearing up for our big live event, which is Mastermind in Millions. That's in March 23rd to 26th in Phoenix, Arizona. Get your butt down here, grab a ticket. They just went up slightly, but they're going to keep going up. So don't wait. If you want to be there, you go to masterminds-to-millions.live. That's mastermind-to-millions.live, and you can grab your ticket. As always, I'm joined by Jay Fiset. He's my mentor. He's the Mastermind to Millions founder. He's an amazing, just wonderful human. So I'm really grateful he's here. And today we're going to talk about something really special. So Jay, lead us into this concept because we're going to riff on this for about 40 minutes and then we got to go back to our specific things.
You and I have been talking about masterminds and what they are and what they aren't and what's a membership and all the rest of it. And I was having a really interesting conversation with a gentleman who's planning on coming to Mastermind to Millions Live from Phoenix. By the way, he's coming from London, England. So if it's a little inconvenient for you in North America, I would suggest that you adjust your standards because people are coming from quite literally all over the world. And he was wanting to launch a mastermind, which, by the way, actually turned out to be a membership. And he was really asking, like, so what are the hallmarks of what makes a mastermind? And you know, I have an opinion about this, and Brad, I'd love to hear your perspective about it, which is this: that a mastermind, when it's in its most powerful, in its most pure, is when we create a group of human beings who come together to generously share network, wisdom, resources, and experiences for the benefit of one another. And if we do that really well, quite literally what happens is we bend time. People in the group can accomplish in days, weeks, and months what would have been months, years, decades, or never. And to me, the measure of the quality of a mastermind is always how freely do the members share their network. So this is who they know. This is who they have access to. This is the relationships that they have, honorably built for eons. Wisdom. And I want to discern the difference between wisdom and experiences, because sometimes people go, well, isn't that the same thing? It's like, no. Wisdom is what we have gleaned, learned, and changed in ourselves, in our businesses, in our relationships as a result of the experiences, right? So then there's experiences. This is just what happened. It's like, oh, I know what it takes to restore an old vintage Porsche. I know what it takes to restore an old rusty Datsun 240Z. I know what it takes to adopt boys in an open adoption.
One of the things we teach is seeds and crops. And seeds and crops it's an acronym. It stands for seek in every encounter to diagnose, create space, serve, support, and solve. So that's kind of the diagnosis part. And then the way you solve problems is you connect resources, opportunities, people, and systems together. So seeds and crops really get you towards this miracle mastermind that we're talking about. This mastermind, which in the purest sense of the word, like Napoleon Hill talked about 100 plus years ago, it's a meeting of the minds that creates something more than what was there before. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 = 11. And that's the power of a mastermind. And what you're creating is an opportunity for you to level up your life in ways that are heretofore unforeseen, but it's taking your desire, transmuting it, and matching it with God's, and then having a really fun old time. I have 2 tattoos that I almost never talk about because they're white ink and they're just for me. But one is to remind me to breathe. It says breathe. And one is to trust. It's to remind me to trust. And they're on each wrist. And the reason I have them is because I always wanted tattoos that if I live to be 190 will never be a bad idea. It's always going to be a good idea to breathe, and it's always going to be a good idea to trust. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that because masterminds to me are an exercise in trust. And, when things are looking a little bleak, it helps and pays to breathe. So just remember, like when you're on this journey, you're going to have times when you have to level up and it's going to be scary, but we're here to support you. And we've been there and we've done that. So we can help you.
100%. So I think I just left off at resources, and resources are those resources that we've accumulated. And if we bring these 4 things together in a generous, open manner, that's where the miracles that Brad was talking about occur. Do you want me just to dive into an example that I think is just spectacular?
Yeah, let's spitball. I love it.
So I want to tell a story about a friend of mine, Ari, and a magical thing happened in a mastermind called Vita that I co-led with a friend of mine, Colin, and Ari was a member of. Now, Ari is, the best way I can describe him is imagine the real life Shrek, except he's not green. Other than that, same. And he kind of giggles and rolls his eyes at me when I do this. But my oldest son used to call him the man with the super big monster head. Like, Ari is huge, and he wrestled in the heavyweight class in the Olympics. Now, the story of how he got there, though, is quite boggling, and I want to just really point out here. When I say in a mastermind group we can bend time, we can create in days, weeks, and months what perhaps would have been months, years, decades, or never. This falls in the category of never. So, quick chapter titles. Ari is a very talented young wrestler, strong as hell and smart as hell. And in his wrestling career in college, something happened with his neck that he went for a series of X-rays, and he is told that he must stop wrestling because if the wrong move happens, it will snap his neck and he will die. And wrestling is his love. And it breaks his heart, but he throws himself into his law degree, becomes a lawyer, does his thing. He's smart as can be, all the rest of it. But there's always been this piece missing for him in terms of his love of wrestling. So fast forward. And this, by the way, is the Beijing Olympics. This is just about 3 years prior to the Beijing Olympics. And he's at the doctor getting a MRI and all the rest of it. And he says to the doctor some version of, how am I doing? I know outside of my neck, what's going on? And the doctor says, well, what do you mean outside of your neck? And he goes, well, the injury I have in my neck, and he described it. And the doctor says, well, I really didn't notice that. Let me look again. So the doctor gets in and looks and all the rest of it. And he comes back and he says to Ari, he goes, I have no idea what you've been told, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with your neck.
Wow.
And Ari says, what? Now, keep in mind now, he has not wrestled now for about 18 years. He's old by wrestling standards, Olympic standards, all the rest of it. But he's told there's nothing wrong with your neck. And he has this whole sort of bitch slap of the universe of my entire life, the decisions I've made, all of these pieces, giving up of my love, giving up all of he's brokenhearted. But pretty damn quick, he gets back in the gym. Pretty damn quick, he's wrestling. Pretty damn quick, he's wrestling competitively. Pretty damn quick, he is, in his weight class, one of the best in all of Canada.
Wow.
Fundamentally impossible. And the Beijing Olympics are coming. So he's on the list to be added to the Olympic wrestling team. And the Canadian Olympic Council says, sorry, buddy, you're too old. You qualify, but we're not putting money behind somebody who's this old that this is sort of going to be a one-shot deal and you're not going to do very well anyway. So go have a nice life. So this dream of his that he has had since he's been in high school of wrestling for his country and actually going to the Olympics, those sorts of things, which got ripped away from an injury that didn't actually occur, is now being ripped away because he's too goddamn old. Now, here's what occurs. And this is where a miracle, a mastermind happens. What occurs is this. He tells a story at the mastermind, and the mastermind members simply say, so how much do you need? And he says what it is, because you literally got to stop working, got to do all these sorts of things. There's the travel, there's a shitload of money. And he says what the number is. And the mastermind group says, we'll pay.
Wow.
That brings tears to my eyes.
Freaking chills, man. I got goosebumps. That's great.
And he says, no, you can't do it. It's no, we're going to split it, and you're going to the fucking Olympics. He wound down his law practice. He trained day and night and represented Canada in the Beijing Olympics.
Wow.
There is not another possibility on planet Earth for that to have unfolded in the way that it did. But that to me is this measure of, if you bring together a group of people and they are generously sharing their network, wisdom, resources, and experiences for the benefit of every person in that group, miracles happen. And by the way, that's just one story. I could give you a multitude related to publishing. I can give you a multitude related to product launch, formula launches. I can give you a multitude in terms of relationships. I can give you a multitude of examples around that. But this idea of a group coming together to simply write a check to fulfill a lifelong dream of one of the members to compete with the best in the world, that is spectacular. Now, like seriously, that just touches me. And there's this one image that I wish I had planned ahead. There's this one image. So he's just a tough son of a bitch. There's a picture of him, and his arm he's right-handed. His right arm is dislocated. So you can see here's his shoulder, and then here's his arm, like down here. Oh and his left arm is up, and his face is like beat to shit. And he's wrestling. And I'm like, what is going on here, Ari? And he goes, well, I can't use my arm. And all I got is my left arm and my head. I said, and I was not fucking quitting. So literally, like his head is like bloody, but it sounds crazy, and you can tell he's happy. He's fucking happy. Like it's just one of those moments. Anyway, my point in telling that story is that I have been blessed to lead, participate, start a multitude of masterminds. And most of the time, I would say mine are a little bit different than most, because the foundation that I work on is how do we create the context, the environment, the relationships to truly, genuinely share network wisdom, resources, and experiences. And when you do that, my friends, as the mastermind leader, you don't need to be the guru. You don't need to be the one who solves all the problems. You need to create the container for the miracle. And over and over and over again, it will happen. You just got to be really perfectly clear about who you're selecting, who's coming in, how you set up the relationships, how you control the container, and how you make space for people to show up and give, not just receive. So anyway, that was the story I wanted to tell, because it's like, my friends, you have no idea the impact that you can make in starting your mastermind. You have no idea. Nor did we when we started that one, but that was just one of a multitude of great stories.
Yeah, can we share maybe one more? Because I'm in like a flow. I like this. This is fun.
Sure. Do you have an industry or a specific arena that would make a difference, you think?
Just give me chills, baby. Let's go.
Well, I think I'm going to actually use me because this was something that was incredibly meaningful to me. And it was when I joined Christian Michelson's JV Mastermind.
You not just say Christian Michelson. By the way,
I did.
Jasmine wakes up. First thing she said to me today
is,
who's the guy we went to dinner with in San Diego that time? I can't remember his name, but his face came to me in a meditation this morning. I'm like, what? I don't know. Like, can you give me a little more context? We lived in San Diego for 4 years and we've gone to a lot of dinners. She's like, oh, he's that guy. He's a coach. He lives in Puerto Rico. I'm like, Christian? She's like, yeah, I got to reach out to Christian right now. I'm like, okay. Do you have his number? She's like, no. And she's like, grabs my phone and starts sending this voice message. I was like jumping on a call. So I'm like, here, take my phone, have fun. Like, I have no idea what she sent to Christian, but that's so wild that you just said his name, because he just came up in a very interesting way. So my fiance, for folks that don't know, is a pranic healer, and she worked in the Tony Robbins community a lot, and she's got some abilities that are more than normal. So it's always interesting to see where her brain goes, and it always ends up being somewhere amazing. So wherever that landed, I'm sure we'll parlay into the story later. But for now, please tell the story of how Christian affected your life.
Well, that's a long story, but I'll tell a little bit of a funny story at the beginning of this. So and I'm just going to share one of the things that we're going to teach a lot about at Mastermind to Millions Live. One of which is that every single one of us needs to do two things. One, we lead a mastermind for our tribe, for our community, about how we can serve, support, and really lead in a powerful way. And we participate in a mastermind as a member to sharpen our leading edge, to learn, to evolve, to grow, to challenge ourselves. And we always bookend those pieces, because here's the truth. You don't have a right to run a mastermind unless you're actually in a mastermind and on the receiving end of this. You won't feel as qualified or as aligned to actually lead yours unless you're actually in one. And those things work together beautifully. Anyway, pay attention to the masterminds that you get invited to, because there is, let's just call it a universal flow that we just actually had a little bit of an experience with. So first and foremost, I was invited to participate in that mastermind 1 year. And I said no, because honest to God, I didn't understand joint ventures and I didn't really get what was going on there. And I thought it was stupid to go and possibly meet a bunch of people I might do work with when I could just stay at home and work. Don't ask. I was learning. Okay.
I mean, we all do dumb shit from time
Yes.
to time. It just takes a woman to tell us when that is.
That's not far off the mark, by the way. I'm fortunate enough to get asked a second year, and at that stage of the game, I was teaching myself the digital marketing world, and I was running out of money because I was burning my money by the wheelbarrow in my backyard trying to figure this shit out. And finally, I go, and it was at that mastermind where I'd been doing strong seven figures in personal development for years, and but in a complicated business. I mean, like we had, I don't know, 13 different programs. I had 4 different facilitators. I had 2 full-time salespeople. I had a physical building. I had a physical machine. And I sit down in this mastermind, and there's like a woman beside me who's doing like almost $1 million with a 19-page PDF and a retreat. And I'm like, you do what? How? Where? When? Why? Anyway. Here's what transpires. It's very, very obvious to me that I need to sit down, shut up, and learn, because I obviously don't understand how these JVs work. I don't really understand how digital marketing works. I can make great money in person, but this part is still confusing as hell to me. But in that mastermind, I came up with my first digital project, which was called the Conscious Creation Telesummit. And me being me, if you're gonna do a telesummit, your first time out, like pick 7 to 10 people. Instead of me, where that whole thing landed at 33 people, which was totally freaking awesome. Said no one ever. And what transpired was that I got this incredible amount of support from these folks that was absolutely beautiful. But I had a crisis. I had a crisis of absolutely epic proportions. And the crisis was something that I'd never experienced before in my life. I was watching a kid's hockey game. Came back from the hockey game. We were at Starbucks celebrating a goal, and I went up to get coffee, and I was bent over and hunched over. It's like, oh, that was kind of weird. Came home that night, have a hot bath to sort of stretch the thing out. All well and fine. I go to sleep that night. I get up in the morning, and I have to go to the bathroom. So I stand up, and I take one step, and I go,
oof,
boom, on the floor. And I've never had anything like this happen. So I'm like prone on the floor, and it's like, well, that's not good. And
is it like vertigo? Like you couldn't stand up straight? You didn't know which way was up, kind of thing?
Back hurt. Like my back wouldn't support.
Oh,
me.
your back. Okay, got it. Okay.
So, but I still have to go to the bathroom. So I crawl to the bathroom, and I maneuver myself around. And I think to myself, and keep in mind, I've just never had this experience before. I think to myself, if I just go super fast, like if I just get my ass up on the edge and I just move like super fast, I'll be fine. So I do that. And I end up in a back spasm that has me flopping around like a fish. And at the end of the spasm, when I can't breathe, and I literally can't breathe, I am hugging the bottom of the toilet with my underwear around my ankles.
Wow.
And it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Like I literally cannot move. So this unfolds in I'll leave a bunch of the gross and embarrassing parts out. This unfolds to me lying in bed for 6 days, peeing in a Starbucks cup because I can't move, doped up on painkillers. And guess what? That 5 days was exactly the 5-day campaign for the conversion and the sales of the process from the telesummit that all these people participated in. And I couldn't even get out of bed, let alone run the webinar, let alone make them any money, let alone do any of those sorts of things.
Yikes.
So I am doing a little text, and it's like, I'm sorry, like I'm in trouble here. And Gina Gabellini, who I know you know, and a variety of others basically sent notes that said, listen, we're sorry that happened. We know you did a great job all the way up to those things and you put your heart in it. And frankly, we don't care if we don't make any money. Like you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your family. You got to take care of all those things. And if we can help you reposition an offer later once you're feeling better, we're all in because we want to serve and support you. And I remember, like, because I just felt like I let the entire world down in that process. And I remember getting those notes and literally like a tear running down my face, going, it's like, holy shit, like they are there for me. And I didn't know them particularly well. I'd only been there a couple of times, like, but they were there for me. And it wasn't, you asshole, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. It was like, go to the hospital, get yourself taken care of. When you're back, we'll figure out how we salvage this to the best of our abilities, and we'll do whatever we can for you.
Wow.
And it was one of the greatest experiences of support in a process where I was learning that I think I'd ever had in my entire life, Brad.
That's amazing. It's so great to hear, because I think the thing that people are hurting with most, especially post-COVID, but even before that with entrepreneurship, is that we just don't feel like we have a community. We don't feel like we have a family. A lot of times you come from a family that wasn't entrepreneurs. They don't get it. They don't understand. There's maybe distance there. There's nobody you can really rely on to like get it and support you with it and, encourage you with it. A lot of people are just telling you to go back to your job or whatever the hell else you were doing before. And it's like, when you've got a family of choice, that you've created a community that you now are a part of that can support you no matter what, like that is such a blessing in this life. It's a miracle. It really is.
Unbelievable miracle.
Yeah. Masterminds can be that for so many people, and it can be the cure to what I call entrepreneurial loneliness that we all experience. We're trying to go to wizard school and the rest of the world is muggles. They just don't get it. Nothing against muggles. Right.
No. So I'll just add one last part to that story. So we clean up that mess. I wanted to make $150,000. I think at the end of the day, we made like $13,000, most of which went out to partners just out of gratitude and thank God. But those folks were exactly the same folks that participated in the Launch Your Mastermind Bootcamp digital program launch that we went from 0 to $2.6 million in 14 months, from the same people that stood by me in the middle of a shit show and the most significant health issue I've had my entire life. Like I've never had that before. I've never had that after. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But that to me is the power of a mastermind. Quite literally, it is not all going to go well. You can't expect it to all go well. And this is the degree of, I think, transparency and authenticity that is necessary for network wisdom, resources, and experiences to be truly shared. Like, had I made up some bullshit story about that, if I had, the server went down, all this dumb stuff that sometimes people, but it was like, listen, I am in trouble, and I'm in trouble physically, and I'm in trouble financially because of the physical issue. And I will do my best to clean this up and do something great with it. And I apologize. Like, just being able to put that on the table is the only reason those folks showed up in the next project that, frankly, we kicked ass at, and everybody made great money. So anyway, that's just, a real personal example of that is the power of a mastermind that has the authenticity and the commitment to bend time for one another.
Yeah. And I've talked at length, and we have some great videos, super highly produced, that we did when we were together in Calgary. We'll share more of a story around myself and Jay coming together. But, I've been witness to many miracles in masterminds, and I want to continue to share those with you. So there's this intangible quality that happens to people when they finally run a mastermind, when they're finally part of a mastermind, when they finally get it, they finally grok it, like, oh, this is what I've been missing. And this is why I've gone so deep into these over many years. And so as Jay, it's like, this is the X factor that changes everything and makes everything possible. And I think that's a very human, unique quality that if we're not tapping into that, the power of community, the power of masterminds, we're leaving so much potential on the table. So we want to encourage everybody to get their butt over to Mastermind in Millions, because whether you join a mastermind, whether you start one, wherever you're at, if you feel like you have imposter syndrome, great. That means you're not a sociopath. Like, we get it. We need you in that room because we need you to have this miraculous process available to you in whatever way you choose to implement it, whether it be a part of it, whether it be building one, or both. Right.
Yeah.
So you can go on over to mastermindinmillions.live, grab your tickets. They've gone up a little bit since early bird. If you haven't grabbed one yet, they're a little bit more, but they're still 40% off of what they will be in the future. Yeah. So I still say that's a good deal.
Well, and the full price ticket is a hell of a good deal. Let's be clear. Like, the full price ticket is a kick-ass deal. The thing I wanted to, when you say we really grok it, like, get it, embody it, Mastermind to Millions Live is the experiential version of this. And it's relationships that make this work. Like, Brad was really articulate about, that's where the miracles happen, is in relationship. And yes, we can have a relationship on Zoom, but it's not the same.
Not even close.
Nothing you can tell me, it's just not the same. So when we have you sitting at a table of 8, actually going through some of the mastermind experiences, actually experiencing building those relationships, actually having people that you didn't know prior to that weekend saying, you know what, I'm actually willing to share this aspect of my network, wisdom, resources, and experiences on your behalf because I believe in you and the project you're working on. Like when that happens, it's like the barriers, the stories, the limitations, the imposter syndrome quite literally begins to like crumble like a paper tiger. And it happens in that room, which is why you must get there. It's as clear as I can say it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll be there. So obviously that's awesome. And we'd love to give you a big hug and welcome you in our little family. So go VIP, mastermindofmillions.live. We're going to keep this one short and sweet today, guys, because we're going to be teaching more stuff that's more practical, tactical. But if you don't understand the why, if you don't understand the stories behind why this is important to do, like it's just another thing. So we want to make sure we differentiate that for you and help you understand, like, this will change your life. This has changed my life. This has changed Jay's life. This has changed hundreds, if not thousands of people's lives, just that we've had the pleasure to serve, and millions around the world. I mean, this is not a new thing. We're making it up, right? It's like, this is a proven process that people have been doing since the dawn of time. They just finally started calling it masterminds about 100 years ago. So even if it was only 100 years old, it'd be pretty well established, but it's literally millennia. Like, you know,
can I add one last little thought that could get the wheels? So one of the ways in which you can get the most out of Mastermind to Millions Alive, and we're going to have a bunch of pre-work to prepare you to get as far as you possibly can. But here's a little foreshadowing to that. Just get a sheet of paper, and on that sheet of paper, put on the left, network, wisdom, resources, and experiences. And then simply just divide your page in half, and you make a list of all of what you have that you would be willing to share, serve, and support the right mastermind group with. What is it that you bring? And then on the other side of it, it's like, what do you need? What do you need in terms of network, wisdom, resource, and experiences? Who do you need to know? What do you need to understand? What do you need to get the pathway of? What tools and support do you require? And just begin to really think of it from this perspective. What can I bring and what do I require? And that, by the way, is going to help you make some of the wisest decisions about, number one, the masterminds you're going to participate in and the masterminds that you are going to lead.
I love it. And since we're already talking, and this is the Mastermind for Entrepreneurs group, there's folks who were right where you were that joined BAM, our program, Build a Masterminds, in this last quarter, and they're starting to all really launch their masterminds and have a lot of fun with it. So I want to give some shout outs to Sabo. Sabo came in, he 10x'd his prices from 1,000 he was charging to 10,000, and he went all out and he followed my advice, and he's got 6 now or 7 clients that he's doing that with. So literally a 5x return on the program in 60 days. So that's pretty awesome.
Congratulations.
So Sabo, good job. Helena, she's from the UK. She has also more than tripled her prices since she came on with us, and she's getting clients left and right. So she just wrote a really glowing testimonial. We asked her for permission to share it with the big group. So hopefully it'll be up later. Ryan is a firefighter who started the Forge Mastermind that just kicked off this week. So congratulations to Ryan. And
love the name, by the way.
Yeah, really, really awesome. I love it. And there's just been so many wonderful people coming through the group and launching amazing masterminds and getting it off the ground. And I mean, we've had a lot come through the doors. I just want to, give credit where credit's due. These people worked hard, they showed up, they said yes, and they did it consistently until they got the result. And that's all you really have to do. It's not that it's the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. It's just, there's a certain amount of work between here and there, and you just got to do it. And you can do it real fast. You can do it real slow. You can fall off the wagon. My job is keep you on track. So if you're looking for support with that, definitely come to mastermindofmillions.live. We have additional support and financing available for people who are like, hey, the money's an issue right now. Cool. If you're in the US, we got a third-party financing we just signed a deal with. So that's fun. There's definitely ways to play, and really don't let money be the determining factor. It's not about resources, it's about resourcefulness. If we can just help you get resourceful, you can find a way. Because when I started, I didn't have a shit ton of money. I was, I did all right, but it was like, everything was coming out of my savings. Everything was coming out of my pocket. I was blessed and thankful to have a successful career prior to joining Mastermind of Millions, but I still had to figure out how to do it. And for the first 2 or 3 years as a coach, I struggled. From like 2014 when I started to 2016 where I found my niche, which was masterminds. I really had a hard time. So I don't want you to struggle through that. It sucks.
Yeah, and then some.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, in the absence of support, environment always wins. So let us shift the support that you receive so that You win, not your environment.
100%. Okay, let's wrap it up, gang. Mastermindmillions.live. That's mastermindmillions.live. Go grab your tickets. We'd love to see you there. Grab VIP. That's the best experience. And we will catch you at the event.
Awesome.
All right,
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.